I'm Frontier Regional School legend Pat Guy. You may be in a class with me, or you may even have the distinct honor of knowing me personally. But enough about me. Today we're going to talk about another legend, Carl Jung. Never heard of him? You're about to.
Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychologist who did a lot for the study of the mind and how it works, and was pretty successful overall, but he may not have become as successful as some people he associated with, like Sigmund Freud, who decided one day that it'd be fun to become much more famous than everyone else. Carl Jung, though, was most known for his research and advancements on the study of archetypes. Jung believed that everyone subconsciously categorizes other people based on repeating patterns and traits that people have in their personalities or appearances. The big thing he did with this was he pointed out that this applies to not only stories, mythologies, and movies, but also everyday life. For example, if everyone thought of a random hero from a story right now, you may have different people picked, but no doubt a lot of them share similar traits, like maybe being heroic, selfless, strong. This is an example of who we place in certain archetypes based off qualities that people have. In most movies you've seen, it's not usually hard to figure out who's good and who's bad just based off of what we all subconsciously think of as differences between heroes and villains. We know how heroes are supposed to act, and we know how villains are supposed to act just based off these archetypes. Archetypes don't only apply to heroes and villains, though. There's all the usual stuff we see in stories, like comic relief characters, or even the typical damsel in distress sometimes. So you can see how they play a big part in stories and movies where they really form the basis of a character to begin with. The biggest part of Jung's studies, though, was that he expanded this theory even further, saying that we form archetypes of others around us just in our everyday lives. This is usually unintentional and is based off of how we feel about them or how they act. We may subconsciously place someone into a nerd archetype just because they're good at math or enjoy school, or we may place someone as a jock because they focus more on sports and athletics than their schoolwork. We usually don't even think about it, though, because we see people that way based off of archetypes and generalizations that have remained for a long time in our society. The whole basic idea of archetypes was originated by Plato, a Greek philosopher, back in the ancient times, and his idea about archetypes was just kind of the general idea that people had preconceptions and unconscious thinking of, like, judging others and the world around them. But he believed that it happened before birth, that you were just born with a certain view on others. While Jung's theory and advancements make a lot more sense and show how much he advanced the idea of archetypes, because he realized that it really all had to do with what was around you and how you interacted and noticed patterns in people's behavior and personality. So Jung definitely made some big leaps in the field and study of archetypes, and was really important to it because it was pretty weird with Plato's thoughts, but Jung gave it a lot more sense. Now that you have a brief overview on Jung's theory of archetypes, I'm just going to give my own opinion on it, really, and my view on it. I think Jung was pretty much correct on all his thinking. I know for a fact, for me personally, I've had misconceptions about people because I've judge them just on first impressions and or how they looked, and it's not, I didn't intentionally do it, but I definitely had an idea of what I thought about them without even really knowing them. So his whole idea of archetypes being used in everyday life with people around you definitely makes sense, and I agree with it completely. And his theory that archetypes are big in stories and mythology definitely makes sense, because that's where we really get the... So I definitely see both of those applying really well to his theory on archetypes, and I think it makes complete sense when you really get down to it. I think archetypes, while it's an interesting theory, I do think archetypes are a negative thing, because they're really generalizing and categorizing someone based off, like I said earlier, first impressions, and that's not really a good thing, because you're not really giving that person a chance or getting to know them. Instead, you're just immediately, subconsciously though, kind of judging them. You can't really control it since it's subconscious, but I think the best thing to do would be to just try to give people a chance instead of immediately making a decision right there, even if you already have one in the back of your head thanks to Jung's theory.
So yeah, Carl Jung was a pretty cool-looking dude, interesting theory, and hope you enjoyed the presentation, and give me an A, Mr. Rogers.